Kevin Kilbane, good morning to you.
Morning, Jay. How you keeping?
Yeah, how enthusiastic are you about this Ireland team at the moment with what you've seen so far?
Well, I think the other night there was a few positives. I think second half, I think we did see a little bit of the same as it was under Martin O'Neill, where we were a little bit too defensive. I think we did drop a little bit too deep, but that was because the team were protecting something. So I think the first half that's been touched on there is what Seamus was talking about. I think there was more of a press on. I think without the ball, I think we were better. I think we were trying to force Denmark back. I just like to see us try and continue that across a 70, 80 minute period. You can't do it across a 90, but certainly a more concerted press coming on from the team. And I think later on in the game we could have won it, but I think overall Denmark would probably be disappointed that they didn't win the game with the chances that they created.
Yeah, look, here's the thing. Our away form was way better than our home form in the last campaign, and so therefore you can't just say away draws are the way to qualification, because there's no guarantee that our home form is going to improve. You would hope that it will, but if we beat Gibraltar tonight, granted we've had the early games against Gibraltar, but we've put the points on the board and we've got that little sense of confidence into the group which didn't have confidence, and it's very much now Mick McCarthy's team. There's a few players who've come into the side, so they can largely write off what happened in the last qualifying campaign and in the Nations League and start looking forward to the rest of this campaign with a bit of confidence.
Yeah, I think what you're touching on there, the home and away form, Jeb. Away from home, yes. I think it's easier to go away from home, or easier, I think, to go away from home with a little bit of less pressure and sit a bit deeper. We did that in the second half. There were positive signs, or more positive signs, on how we are going to play against teams at home in that Georgia match. I think we had longer spells with the ball. I think we created a lot more chances, I think, throughout that game. Certainly a lot more openings. The lack of opportunities at goal, I think that was a thing that maybe disappoint, I think, overall in that Georgia match. But it was certainly a lot more positive. And the Gibraltar result aside tonight, I think we're not going to judge the performances going forward on that. It's how we play against the Swiss, how we play against the Danes in Dublin. And I think Mick McCarthy will instill a little bit more belief in the team that they can take the ball, because the one thing that was noticeable in that game against Denmark the other night was we're lacking in midfield on a real willingness to come and take the ball under a little bit of pressure. When there's a man up your backside, sometimes you're going to have to hit the ball. You're going to have to take it and have a willingness to take it and then free up other players. That was the thing that was notable again the other night. We were just a little bit too negative, I think, with our passing, but there was certainly signs that we are growing and we are going to get better.
That's something that's been brought up a bit over the last couple of days, is this idea of that Irish midfield. And like what you say is definitely true. The way I looked at it in terms of something that's really concerning is the chances that we coughed up. And we do wonder sometimes if that holding midfield role is really locked down. Glenn Whelan is going to come to a conclusion at some stage. Is there anybody that you have in mind that might be able to plug those gaps that were just available too often on Friday night?
Well, do you know, it was interesting, and I maybe just gauging it from what Aston Villa did in the playoff semi-final. They used Glenn Whelan in the first leg of the playoff semi-final against West Brom. Conor Hourihane played in that position as a holding midfielder. Now, he would have to probably be a little bit more disciplined. It's not quite worked when Hourihane's played in that role when he's played there for Ireland, but he can play there. Now, it will free up an extra or a more attacking player in the midfield three ahead of him, if that was going to be the case. I think there's a chance for Mick McCarthy in this game to try it tonight. Doesn't necessarily need to use Glenn Whelan in this game, because I think it is going to serve his purpose when he's using Glenn Whelan in the games against Denmark and Switzerland. That's how it would probably be going forward. So I was actually quite disappointed with Conor Hourihane, with Jeff Hendrick at times, and even Glenn Whelan. I go back to the point, a little bit of a reluctance to receive the ball. And I think it was on so many times, if it's Enda Stevens, if it's Seamus Coleman, when they check back in midfield and they give them the ball, there's a chance to switch play. So often when we receive the ball in midfield, we go back towards where the balls come from, and I think it just condenses play and it allows Denmark to get set up as it proved the other night. Or if it's even a backwards pass, so often we received passes in midfield, we went backwards and we ended up back in our 18-yard box, and it allowed Denmark to regroup and reset. So often I felt there was times to pass forward and there was no real demand on the man on the ball. Give me that pass, give me the ball, and that's what I'd be looking for more, particularly in this game. We can play with a bit more freedom, and I think that this this type of game tonight against Gibraltar can give us belief for the rest of the campaign.
Is that on Glenn Whelan, or is that more on Hourihane? What do you...
Yeah, I do think it's on those lads in midfield. I do. I think it's up to those lads to demand it. Even Jeff Hendrick, when we kind of changed the shape of the side through the midfield, we went with one sitter with Glenn Whelan, and then we changed it to two, where we kind of put Conor Hourihane alongside Glenn Whelan, with Jeff Hendrick playing as a 10. Whoever's playing in the positions in midfield, you've got to be prepared to take it. And so often, I don't think we were putting demands on each other to receive the ball, and that is the necessity, I think, all over the pitch. Yes, when you're looking back at the game, I'm sure Mick McCarthy looks back at the game. I think he shows the team little bits of video analysis from the game on how they can improve and how they can receive the ball. That's got to be the message to the team. Look, you can give it them. Give it your teammate in the middle of the park. But when you're on that pitch, the demand has to be there. It has to be there from the midfield and even the attacking players as well.
Can the management fix that, or is that down to the players? Like, how do you... So you spot this. You have to assume that Robbie Keane and Mick McCarthy spot the same thing. And in training, they're saying... Are they on the training pitch going, okay, look, this is exactly the same scenario we had against Denmark. The practice team are the practice team, and you're penning us back in by not swiveling your hips. Who's doing that conversation?
Well, you mentioned Robbie there. Certainly Robbie Keane. When I was playing left back in the side with Robbie Keane, if I didn't pass it forward to him and try and get him in the game early, he would be on your case. He used to get on your nerves, in your ear constantly, telling you to give it in, give me the ball, give me the ball. That was the message from him all the time, wherever he was on the pitch, whether he was under pressure, there might be even two players on him. He wants the ball to be played into. If he lost it, then it's his responsibility. But he took that responsibility to take the ball. That is the thing that I think he would be noticing straight away, that the ball's not been fired into David McGoldrick enough. The ball's not been... If I was playing as a left back or even a left winger, whichever it would be, if I'm playing as a left back, and the players that I would have played in front of would be the likes of Dennis Irwin, whether it be Steve Staunton, Ian Hart, whoever it would be, their first option was to give me the ball as a wide man. That was they would relay that message to me. I'll pass forward, I'll get you in the game quickly. Second option then would be to a striker's feet. Then your third option latterly would be go inside or even backwards. I don't think that's the case. I think at the moment the mindset is we're checking back when we're on the ball. We're playing safe. That's what it is. And it's understandable with you're protecting something over there in Denmark. We were protecting the result. Now, you were saying there whose responsibility is it? It's noticeable. So I'm sure that Mick McCarthy and particularly Robbie Keane will be seeing that from the sideline, that you can actually put the message into the players' heads. Look, if it's Glenn Whelan or whoever it will be that's taking the ball in midfield, open your body out and fire it into the striker as quickly as possible. And I don't think the difficult passes at times, the risk taking, and they're going to make mistakes by doing that because they're going to give the ball away, passing it into dangerous areas. But it's certainly on at times, and I think it will be the way that the way that Gibraltar will play. If you've seen them, I'm sure you have seen them. They sit with the back five. They sit with five in front of them. There's very little distances between them. So forward passing, as in sometimes you might have to turn them. You might have to turn the defence because by doing that, you might give the ball away, but what it does, it stretches the game, and we have to do more of that, I feel. And we're just not probably doing it enough because we're protecting. And the result that was there with 20 minutes to go, a good 0-0 draw away from home against Denmark, would have been a decent result. As it turned out, we got the draw in the end. But it was only when they scored we actually tried to force the issue a little bit. And I'd just like to see it a little bit more and be a little bit braver.
Yeah, was the change of personnel change any of that? So if James McCarthy comes back and gets game time, I mean, he'd need to play a lot of football in August. So it's unlikely that he's going to replace them. But who knows? Stranger things have happened in football. Is he?
Yeah, I mean, there's Josh Cullen's one that you're looking at there. I think he's impressed me with how he played at Charlton towards the back end of the season. So there's players like him that you could give a bit of game time to. And as I was saying before, you could actually play Conor Hourihane in that position and maybe change the position for Robbie Brady or bring Callum O'Dowda into the team or however he wants to work it. There's a number of options. Rowan Curtis is another option that you could bring in and change the personnel positional wise. That's what Mick McCarthy could do. So there are options, Jed. There are certainly options for Mick within it. But I mean, he suggested yesterday that he wants continuity. He likes the team, how they've been progressing. He likes what he's seen, and it'll be pretty much the same. But as I was saying, I think there are options there for Mick, and I think he could make changes in this game.
We should talk about Matt Doherty because we talked about it a little bit earlier on with Nathan. Seamus Coleman had he's had an excellent game, but more than that, he's being an excellent leader for the team. So you have to assume that his position is nailed on. But just to go back to the whole, no one's taking any conclusions from the Gibraltar game because the weather was so bad. It was a terrible performance that we win 1-0. The only thing that we're taking from that game is that Matt Doherty can't possibly play alongside Seamus Coleman, and that seems unbelievably unfair and quite short-sighted when we don't really have. Nathan made the point that Robbie Brady and Seamus Coleman didn't have any better of an understanding than Matt Doherty and Seamus Coleman, even though Brady and Coleman have played together way more. So surely they should have been spending the last 2 weeks working on it, trying to find a way to get Matt Doherty's football skills into the team.
Yeah, you can't disagree with that. Robbie Brady wasn't his usual best, and he hasn't been playing well for a while. Robbie, I think he's been injured as well, which hasn't helped him. I actually felt in that Gibraltar game, I felt there was more errors, or I think there was a lot more to look at down the left-hand side rather than the right in that Gibraltar match. That's the way I felt immediately after the game. Yes, there was a few loose passes. That was the pitch. It was the weather. We knew that was going to go that way. But I think Enda Stevens had his best game the other night for Ireland. I thought he played well. But James McLean and Robbie Brady ahead of him, of our main attacking players, aren't playing well in Irish jerseys. They're not at the best at all. And I think those two in particular, even James, I think he probably admitted himself, he's not necessarily playing his natural game. He's not free flowing. He's not getting crosses into the area. So I can't disagree with what you're saying there in relation to Matt Doherty. I think he's the sort of player. I think he just needs a run of games. I think they can play together. I think it'd be easy to fit them both into the side. And as you say, it would have been a chance maybe to work with it on the training ground. But I think what Mick McCarthy's probably done in the last two games, the Georgia and that Denmark game, he's probably had a set way in his head on how he's going to play. There was that game the other week against the under-21s. I think he would have tried to give himself an idea from that game how he's going to play, what personnel he's going to use. And he maybe sees Robbie Brady. I think Robbie Brady's probably a better attacking option than Matt Doherty on the right, but it's not working for him. So that's where you've got to use your squad, and you've got to try and use different personnel in those games to try and get the best out of them. But I'm with you. I do believe that combination down the right can work. I think it might be something maybe further down the line, further down the track for Mick to use, yeah. Yeah,
maybe, hopefully, in between us qualifying and the actual tournament itself. We've got the game against Gibraltar tonight, and then it's back-to-back pretty much against the Swiss home and away in September, October. So we're going to know a lot more about where we stand by the end of that as opposed to anything that happens tonight, right?
Yeah, I think so. I just the best thing about what's happened, certainly with Denmark now, Denmark are chasing. Denmark are going to have to force issues in games. They're going to have to go for it. We'll have the eyes on that Georgia match tonight with them playing. But I think it's just about. I really do think tonight there's a really good chance. Try. I know it's easy to say. We rarely ever do it, Jed. We don't go out and win 4 or 5, 6-0. It really happens with us. But there's a chance tonight to create chances, play with a bit of confidence, a bit of expression. The solidity would always be there. You mentioned Seamus Coleman earlier on. The back four, I thought, played really well. There was elements of the night where we did drop a little bit too deep late on, and that's why Højbjerg got the goal for Denmark in the end. The back fours, in fairness, it's always been good, hasn't it? Take that Denmark playoff game out. We've been good as a back four. It's been fine. That's not the issue within the side. It is in advance. We have to start creating more chances. Tonight is an opportunity to be a little bit freer, take risks, because they're not going to hurt us. They're not going to hurt us on a regular basis. They're not going to be coming at us. They're not going to be running in behind us. So tonight is an opportunity, I feel, to play with a bit of expression and create chances more than anything else.
All right, Kev, enjoy the game tonight. Thanks a million.
Well done, Jay. Cheers, Owen.
It's Kev giving us some thoughts ahead of the game this evening that you can hear live on Off the Ball throw-in. And the radio show is at 7 o'clock, and obviously the game kicks off at 7:45.